Hey everybody, it's been 2 weeks. Did you miss me? I missed doing this last Thursday, but I was busy having a very rewarding and a bit exhausting experience being a race director in Lake Balaton, Hungary for the ICF SUP World Championships. It was amazing. The event went great. So I'm sorry I couldn't do an interview from there, but too much going on. So I need to be quick because our guest today doesn't have a lot of time, and really excited to talk to Carleen Birnes from Annapolis, Maryland area, involved in stand-up in so many ways. Entered kind of through fitness and the SUP fitness side, but race director, has a local series, also does a point series, and I'm going to call it SUP Expedition, but a really interesting race that just happened. Oh, thank you, Penny. How nice. How fun. And hi from Greece. I just love how international this crowd is. Super fun. So I am going to see if I can't find... Oh, somebody just got there. Was that your first board, Thanos? Somebody just bought Aquamarina. I love that we have new people coming in right now. So I am going live and I'm looking for... There she is. Just perfect. PT, welcome. Two little wings. Uruguay. Oh, I just love. Thank you for saying hello and where you're from. Portugal, Uruguay, all over the world. Well, I'm today only going to the other side of the United States. Carleen is on the East Coast. There she is.
Hi.
I'm always surprised when it actually works.
This is my first time doing a live interview, so this is great on Instagram. It's awesome.
Yeah, it works. It works. Oh, and there's Itzel, who's from Peru, but he's in Europe right now. Just saw him. It's so fun. I don't know if you see all the names
I
scrolling
see
by, but
them.
they're saying where they're from all over the world.
That's incredible.
Yeah. Well, you're a little bit away from me. Oh, Goose Norman, he's from
Hey,
Bayou.
Chris. Yeah.
Super fun. I'm learning like Instagram names, but let's get right
Yeah.
to it because I know you don't have very much time because you need to go teach a SUP class, right?
That's right. Exactly.
Because you're a busy paddler. Well, you have a lot going on and you've done a lot in the years that you've paddled, but you started from the fitness angle. So where did you
I
always
did.
like to start? Where did you first see stand up? Did you get into it right away or what's your story? Hey,
Yeah,
Craig.
so I live in the Annapolis, Maryland area. And so right off the Chesapeake Bay, my creek is behind me right here, Dividing Creek. And when I first got into stand-up paddle, I was in the same neighborhood, but different creek. And I was getting out of the corporate world and really pursuing, I had kids and looking to create some financial freedom, but have a lot of flexibility with my schedule. And so I became a personal trainer and because I've always been sports minded, not necessarily, I never really worked out in a gym all that much, but I just, identify strongly as an athlete, played sports all my life, grew up in the Pocono Mountains, so was outside all the time. And so I became a trainer because I like sports, and then got an opportunity to work in one of the local fitness clubs. And she said, but you got to make up your mind soon. And I said, why? And she said, well, the warm weather, the good weather's coming. And so, you got to get your clients before everybody leaves and goes outside. And I was like, well, I don't want to be inside either. So that was just like the best thing she could have said. So
Yeah.
I started leading outdoor fitness boot camps, pretty rigorous stuff. And then as I was just kind of looking at what else was around, I was walking down my street and I saw this person. This was 2010 or 2011. Leading a SUP yoga class, a paddleboard yoga class, and no one around here was really paddling at that time. And I was just like, whoa, it stopped me in my tracks. I'm like, what is she doing? This is amazing. And so I got online and just started Googling like stand-up paddleboard, Annapolis, like anything, trying to find this person. I still don't know who it was. And I found SUP Annapolis, and
Mm-hmm.
then So I emailed him like, is this you? Are you guys doing this? I want to get involved. And he said, it's not us, but we will go out and we paddle together, like once a week.
Mm-hmm.
And they go for a few miles, and it sounded really intimidating. I said, are any other women involved? No, but it's cool. And so I was like, I don't know if I'm going to do that. But then I found Paddle Fit, and I got certified.
Mm-hmm.
As Brody Welty is completely, aghast that I had never actually been on a paddleboard. And I went to that Paddle Fit training down in Florida in the early days. He's like, how do we let you in? I'm like, I don't know. I never
Because
really
you're a
got
personal trainer, and
Yeah,
yes,
yeah. And
passion is
then,
a big part of this sport, especially in these
yeah,
early days.
in the early days, right. And then I was, sitting there in Florida with people who had board shops and really experienced people from around the country. And I was like, oh man, I am out of my zone. But, that's the beautiful thing about paddleboarding. We were on very wide, accessible boards from the local shop, and jumped on, loved it. And then from there, started doing in the summers paddleboard fitness classes. So kind of like a blend of yoga and body weight exercises on the boards. And at that time, Riviera was around, and I bought 10 boards from them, bought a little trailer, hooked it onto my truck, and went around to all the different launches in our area and started leading classes. And, just treated it like same way you would sign up with me for boot camp. You could sign up,
Mm-hmm.
on the water, and people just loved it. And I like to say that it was they were my only classes where people smiled throughout the entire class. Whereas in boot camp classes on land, I get mean,
Yeah.
horrible looks. So yeah, so in there, it just, that was the first summer, and it just kept evolving from there.
Oh, that's really cool. So that's interesting that you already had business. You were a personal trainer. You had the fitness side, but you wanted to be outside and you found that water. I love that you went to Paddle Fit without having really paddled. I know Brody well, so I can just hear him. But perfect. It's a very, accepting, and you were in early, and,
Mm-hmm.
it's still, doable, and you made a business of it. That's fantastic. Sometimes I talk to people, the business side of it is something that was new to them. So that's cool that you already knew how to register people and get them going and everything. Well, it was
Yes.
certainly has grown from there. So it's not just fitness, that's your core, and you still do a lot of that. But from that, you've branched out, and you're a race director on a number of things. I'm going to kind of jump to the one you guys just did that's amazing. So that's called, no, that one's this weekend, the Bay
Yeah.
Paddle. It's a
I mix them up too. Yeah.
yeah, they both have bay in them.
Yes.
So the bay paddle's really cool. Has that been going on for a while? 8 days. You're on that board of directors with probably Brian and Chris and other people.
That's
Annapolis,
right.
Maryland is quite a hub for all different kinds of stand up, which is cool. So
Yeah, we
tell us
have a
about that
great
many
community.
day one going all the way
Uh,
across the bay.
it was amazing. So Chris Hopkinson is the visionary behind Bay Paddle. He last year during the middle of the pandemic,
Mm-hmm.
he decides he's going to be the first person to solo stand up paddle the entire Chesapeake Bay. And so the Chesapeake Bay is like pretty significant. I think we say it's 214 miles, depends on your line, of course. So he started at the very tip up towards the Susquehanna, which is Havre de Grace, and
Mm-hmm.
then we have a western shore and an eastern shore of Maryland. The eastern shore takes you over, to Ocean City, and the western shore is more of like the mountains and stuff like that. So he decided to take the eastern shore route, and just figured out where he could, portage for a night, or sometimes it was close enough he would know where he finished and then drive home and then start back in the same place. He had safety boat support, and he did it, and it was really hard, and he did it. And then he started talking to us, some of his friends, Capital Sup, me, about how he could turn this into a bigger race. At that point, could it be a race? And then for this year, we decided it would be more of like a kind of like beta test, like a challenge, 8-day
Yeah.
stage challenge to
I,
kind of
I
like work
like
out
that.
the
Yeah.
kinks,
We're using the word event a lot. I like
hmm
challenge also. That's sometimes race is intimidating some people, although this is one that you do need to have some background before doing. So how many of you did it
Yes.
this year? So this is the second year after he did it solo, and you had
Yep.
quite a group and
We
some
had a good group.
challenges.
Yes, we had so there were 100 total, and people broke it
Wow.
up in all different kinds of ways. So it wasn't necessarily 100 who started and then finished. So the finish is at where the bay runs into the Atlantic Ocean, around Cape Charles, between Cape Charles and Virginia Beach. There's a big tunnel bridge called the Chesapeake Bay Tunnel Bridge, I think. And
Mhm.
so that's kind of, I don't, that's not the exact finish, but somewhere around there, we were kind of allowed to, you know, pick around that area. Um, so some people just did one leg. So one leg could be anything from 25 miles to 30 miles. Um, and then some people decided to do a little bit every day. That's what we did as part of our relay team. And then some people, like my partner with Chesapeake, Nikki Stimson, she did
Mhm.
the whole thing, stand-up paddle solo.
Wow.
Uh, and she did it on a board that she
Mhm.
made herself, a 14-foot wooden board she made herself, and she was sponsored by the company she works for, Chesapeake Lightcraft. So she had them as her safety support. I was kind of mad at her because she ditched me to go. But we had an amazing team. So our team rented a catamaran, which was our sleeping boat for the whole thing. And we just would, rotate turns. And sometimes, two people did it paddled the same time. Sometimes we swapped. Since we had a hurricane come through, we had to get a little crafty and creative.
Yeah, didn't you guys all need to get off the water? I mean, that was crazy.
Yeah, so we had to, so we didn't paddle. We finished it in 8 days, but there were 2 days that we didn't paddle at all because the Hurricane Ida just created, well, the Wednesday of that week, it was a south wind, which was not, advantageous and like 25 plus. And then Thursday when we didn't paddle, we were on our boat in a safe harbor somewhere on the Chesapeake Bay in Virginia. Um, it was a northish wind, but it was just wailing and it just wasn't safe. We were worried actually our boat was going to capsize. So
Wow.
we safe harbored that day, and then we just had to make up the lost miles by we did two 50-ish mile days to make up for those instead of
Wow.
20, 25,
Yeah.
30. We just had to group them together. But because we were a relay team, we actually kind of took a little inspiration from the crossing for cystic fibrosis. Kim Barnes, her group with the Flying Fish folks, they would, thank God I learned about that, but they alternate. So they would do like half an hour to 45-minute intervals and just swap and swap and swap.
Hmm.
So that's what we ended up doing. And we just kind of did bite-sized portions and just kept doing rounds and rounds until we got to our destination.
Well, fantastic. Congratulations. That's a major thing. And it sounds like you had a big crowd and you plan to do it again, I assume, and it'll
Yeah,
grow, I'll bet.
so we
Yeah.
just met with Chris this week, Nikki and
Hmm.
I, and so he's got just great plans to see it, have more people come out next year and some fun little creative tweaks for the SUP racers. So it's really exciting what he's got in store. And then also a shout out to Brian Meyer, he was the first solo male to do it in an outrigger, an OC1. And then we had this other, and I don't remember her last name. Her first name is Alessia, but she was the first woman to surf ski the entire Chesapeake Bay. So we had kayakers, OC, stand-up paddle, so all kinds. It was awesome.
Very cool. We love all those watercraft.
Yep.
So, more locally, and I think maybe the first venturing into kind of the sup racing, you host a local series or
Yes,
of
yes. Our
events.
our
Yeah.
Chesapeake. So this was really, it's interesting. People will say to me, I wish we had a race league in our town. And I'm like,
Hmm.
listen, if you build it, they will come.
Yeah.
Has been really one of the best community builders that I've developed. And I didn't realize it would be so tremendous for really deepening our paddling community, but it's just been so wonderful to watch our group grow. So back when I was at a marina and running more traditional SUP lessons and classes from a marina, we started it there. I keep forgetting now how many years. It's either in its it might be in its sixth year at this point, sixth season. So at that point, I was like, okay, let's do this. It's always 3 miles. We're going to time it, but it's not a race first, second, or third place. What it is just we're going to time it. And then your goal is just to beat your
Your own
time
time.
every week. If, obviously based on conditions. But the creek we were on was even if it was blowing, we never had white caps on that creek. So sometimes you would get a headwind, but you didn't get chop. So it was a really good place to do timing, and it's, as consistent as it could be. And so that was great. So people came out, they loved it, and it just built and built. But then
What was it social also? Do you like have a
yes,
meetup afterwards? Yeah, that
yeah,
seems to be a tie that,
yes.
makes a race league special and builds community, like you said.
Yeah, and we started it the first year doing laps. So 1 mile, the buoys, we set out buoys. It was 1 mile, and we said, listen, if you're done at 2, you're done at 2. And sometimes people would, like it's an evening thing. They have a hard day at
Mhm.
work, or whatever it is, and if they can only get 2 laps in, or 1 lap, we don't care.
Yeah.
We'll put your time down for whatever, and we'll put it in the spreadsheet. It doesn't matter. So it was really place where we were hoping people didn't feel intimidated, but just a way to keep your conditioning up and your fitness up, and meet paddlers. So
Yeah.
then we got a beer sponsor, of course, and then after the race, but again, it was a race for your PR, not against anybody else. Then we would go back on land and we would crack open, a beer or drink your water, whatever, and that's really where it all came together.
Yeah. I think race leagues are one of the perfect entrees, and we've seen this big growth over the pandemic of people who maybe have decided they really like stand-up paddleboarding and they were doing it on their own and are looking for things like that. So highly encourage you to follow what Carleen has done and create that. And it's not that hard. I mean, it does take some effort, obviously. I don't want to say it's not hard. Somebody's got to
Yeah.
run it and do the timing and not be out there.
Well, and we kind of
Mhm.
hacked it after COVID because we also have an area where there's tons of creeks and rivers. I mean, so many. And it can get a little boring when you're always going to the same place. And actually, we would kind of get some complaints, like people would do race league, but then they would go to pretty much any other race in the area, and it would be like crazy chop and conditions. And they were like, we kind of feel like we need to get out and chop more. So we started doing some field trips into, some rivers where there was just more texture that you had to figure out, and
Yeah.
lakes and stuff like that. And then last year, the field trips turned into, okay, who wants to host it this week? And then it just turned into a free thing, which, so you could go either way with it. It could be free. The great thing about offering it for free is you have to do less work if you're the organizer. But what I've loved about now this year, it's completely free. It's a community thing. And I love it because people who choose to host it, and we've had a ton of people who have volunteered to host from their beach, from their parents' house, like wherever. It's really empowering for them to create the course. And so now the course is different. It's always 3 miles, but it's different every week. It could be an out and back. It could be a lap course. So it's really fun
Oh, that's
to
neat.
see individual paddlers take ownership of being kind of like the mini race director for that evening. So I love that.
Yeah. What a great thing. You're instructing in so many ways. Yes, creating future race directors. And then
Yeah.
from that, you've really expanded. You've connected different races in your area, and now you have And I love your play on words, right? Chesapeake. Sup
Chesapeake,
is in
that's
the middle
right.
of that, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Series. So those were races. They weren't all your races. Some were existing races that maybe somebody else was putting on, but you have a point series now.
Yeah, and we took that. We talked to the people at Southern Stoke and then
Hmm.
Midwest Paddle League, and really took inspiration from that. And that was really my partner Nikki. She was like, "I think we should really do this race point series." And so that's been, and I will be honest, some people are like, am I signing up for race league or the race series? So we have to do a better job of like explaining it. But we our our take is a little bit different with our race series because it's membership based for the paddler. So the way that some of the other leagues do it, it's the races pay maybe to be a part of their race series, where with us the races are all free, but the members, the paddlers, pay a small fee to be a part of it. And then whoever's in that, so we have about 50 members this year. They got this really cool shirt, and we keep a spreadsheet with their points after all the participating races that they compete in. Um, and we went with the Midwest Paddle League scoring because it's pretty much the more races you do, the better your score, the better it, increases
Hmm.
your score. So we like how that really encourages people to participate in more races. And then it's not so much about getting on the podium. Like, you increase your score just by paddling in races. So, but that's been great. So we have a race this weekend down in Delaware that's a part of it. The Bay Bridge Paddle factors into it. And then we put on our own race called Round the Rocks on a local river. And that race will have the winners of that race, but then also we'll have the Chesapeake Point Series winners awarded too. So it's kind of like two award ceremonies within one race.
So you still
Um,
have a couple weeks in your season. The Bay
yeah,
Bridge paddle is this weekend, right? Which was
it's next Sunday.
the Sunday afterwards,
Yeah.
and then the one uh, around the rocks, whatever you just said, is a
Uh-huh.
couple weeks after that. So
Yep.
kind of September, because I know like the Midwest Paddle Series just wrapped up theirs, and it
Yeah.
is sort of end of the season. So really cool to hear how you do it, though. You and I think, first met in discussing how we're kind of trying to link these series. So I love that you have
Yes.
talked to Southern Stoke and you've talked to Midwest, and at some point, hopefully next year, we can start
Hopefully.
really connecting and figuring out. Everybody doesn't do it exactly the same, but maybe eventually we can work to, find the things that work best and the
Yeah.
similarities. And yeah, so you are paddle fit. You're also PSUPA, which is the one of the many accreditation groups for instruction, but definitely one that grew out of stand-up paddling directly, which I think is really interesting because there's great ones out there too that grew from the ACA, from canoe and kayak, or from surf. Um,
Uh-huh.
there's one. How long is that? A 1 day or a 3 dayer? That kind of seems to be or something in
Well,
between. The basic.
we've done Flatwater certification so far because that's pretty much we're also certified to teach open water, but Flatwater is pretty much what people want to
Most people
teach
are
like
looking for.
new.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So it's a 2-day certification, 2-day training. And there's not a ton of them. I think it seems like there's more instructors on the West Coast. So Nikki and I do it together, and we've done it in Maryland so far. But hey, if anybody is on here and they would like to have a piece up of flat water in your neck of the woods, reach out to us. But these guys, Julia and Kurt,
Hmm.
um, who put it together, they really vet out their paddlers. When I was reading kind of the experience that they ask of the people who sign up, and then the CPR, and it is really well thought out. They really make sure that there's a vetting process before you accept someone to do the certification. So there is some kind of foundational knowledge, which I think is important these
Hmm.
days. And a lot of people have it because, now it's however many years later, and the sport has been around for at least this part, pretty significant for about 10 years, 9 or 10 years. So we have this great manual that we lead from, and then we do the water training, and it's been really, really fun to help really build and grow ambassadors for the sport, and then watch, kind of follow them and the classes that they're teaching. So we went down to Southern Maryland, to Leonardtown, and certified a bunch of instructors for Root Sup and Fitness down in Leonardtown, and they're about 2 hours away. So watching all those instructors now kind of talk about their classes, and it's like you're reliving the first year, that maybe you taught. Like, I'm like, and they're like, look, and everybody was smiling and having a great time. And so it's just really wonderful to feel that enthusiasm from the new teachers, because it's a way of life. It's a lifestyle. We do it, we teach it, we sleep it.
Rewarding. Yeah. And rewarding too, that you are, you're expanding helping people get into the racing side of it, get into the teaching side of it. That's fantastic. You guys are doing a great job. And we connected this week because I was just at a big event. And again, we have a young sport, and it's not just about sport. It's we love just the being outside and all the things about stand-up, but connecting it all, it's a little bit disconnected right now and fragmented, and trying to understand it all. So I mentioned to you, I'm going to throw up a Facebook Live tomorrow at in the evening for you guys, 8 p.m., 5 p.m. for me on the West Coast.
Oh, good.
Just because I've had a lot of texts and stuff. Wait, I don't understand, like, how did the team get picked, or how does it work, or why did they do these races? So kind of a Q&A, but also just talk about where we are now with the structure of stand-up paddle racing, how the direction it might go, where do people feel, open conversation. So that's on KT Outside is my page on Facebook. So that's where it shows up, if I can remember how to do the live thing correcttly. But thanks for that. You inspired me after I'm like, a lot of people do have questions about all of this, and I know a lot, and you are but we want to keep having the conversations and connecting.
Yeah, and especially about the officiating, when that really piqued my interest too, when I saw that you were certifying maybe new officials, and I thought, I want to get certified in officiating and timekeeping. So I mean, the first large race I did, I was a little unprepared for how chaotic that finish can be. And fortunately, I had a volunteer with me, and she said, when we do it, shout out to Sarah with East of Maui, when we do it, I like to video it, because if you get mixed up or the times don't, this is a very DIY version. For Bay Bridge paddle, we do have chips, but a lot of race directors don't have chips,
right?
And so we're just like doing times and writing down. But she videoed people as they were, little snippets of when clumps would come through, and I sat there that night and I was like so confused, and thank God for that video. And I knew all the racers, for the most part, and they had their numbers, but sometimes you can't see the numbers. So however to streamline this and make it easier, less stressful, I'm all in.
Yeah, well, and our sport has been kind of do it yourself, and thank goodness for people like you who were willing to go out and just make it happen, even if you didn't have training and everything. But now it's nice that we're starting to find organizations that do have a structure and training, because it's really interesting, like what they're doing. But we were really lucky because they had a timing group from Portugal that's just amazing. I mean, photo finish, camera, all that kind of stuff. So, and still that was like almost 500, and we didn't know everybody going over the line. So super important. So we'll definitely talk some more about that. But I know you don't have a lot of time, but a little bit more about you. Like, what's your favorite part about SUP? You sound so busy. I don't know if you get to travel, or are there destinations you'd love to paddle?
Oh gosh. Yes. Well, let's see. What do I love about it? When I moved to the Annapolis area from the Carolinas, I thought, I've made a horrible mistake, because it's a little bit faster paced here. I grew up in the Poconos in Pennsylvania, but then I went to college in South Carolina, and then stayed in the Carolinas for a while. but then moved up to Annapolis. And it was just, everybody was go, go, go and rush, rush, rush. And I thought, I miss kind of the easiness of where I came from. And I will say it wasn't until I started paddling, and I had a kayak before that, but it wasn't until stand-up paddle that I really felt connected to this area, and just like, oh, I get it. And we had a boat before, we had kayaks, but there was something with just stand-up paddle. It was the fitness, it was the outdoors. I'm not sure, but it really it changed my life. Like, it truly changed my life. I have financial freedom from it. I get my solace from it. Like, I have, spiritual kind of experiences out there at sunrise with dolphins, when I go down to the ocean. And and I met my my partner now through it, from a race. Met him at a race, even after a horrific wipeout coming in, like massive shore break, and here I am coming in on my race board, just going in, to 10 different directions. But it has, and I think so many people can probably relate to that it is just a life-changing thing. And so that's what I love about that. And I love when I have clients, I do a lot of private groups just from my launch. I really try to help them kind of wrap their heads around, like, instead of going for like a 3-mile jog, like, you can do that on the water. And they're like, what? And then I'll say, and when you learn the performance stroke, it's kind of like you're doing a core crunch with every stroke. And they're like, huh? So I just love kind of helping people understand how this could be kind of like riding a bike. You could just take it and cruise and look at the sunset and just soak it in, or it can be your biggest workout of the day. And it could just be social, Yeah. So that's my favorite thing about it, is it's so versatile, and you can paddle anywhere. So segueing into places that I love to paddle.
Well, your area sounds amazing. You have so much water, and the creeks and the rivers and the bay and
Yeah, you can find, so the only thing we don't really have, sometimes we have to go wave hunting in the river when there's lots of boats, so we can find some wakes. But that was the extraordinary thing about Bay Paddle. Once we got closer to the Atlantic Ocean, around the Cape Charles area, there were sharks, dogfish, dolphins, sea turtle. I paddled with a sea turtle, cool. Which I just didn't realize we had those in the bay. So we screamed every time we saw kind of like, a creature that was like exotic to us.
Yeah.
We all were screaming, did you see that?
And dolphins will never grow old. I love dolphins.
So one of my favorite places was Galapagos. We went, I led a retreat, co-led with Jessie Benson, who has Be More Sup up here. I think I've said every single outfitter that I know in Maryland. And so we co-led a retreat to Galapagos a couple years ago, and we paddled and snorkeled. So we would paddle to a spot, and we worked with a tour group down there, and I can't remember their name. But
there is a Sup Galapagos on one of the islands. Was it the actual Sup store? But they're pretty new.
It was, and I wish I remembered their name. And so we saw, like,
that's amazing. Yeah.
To paddle out, and then the sea lions, and then we would go under the water, and then we would see, like, it's a whole different world under there. So Galapagos was like definitely the highlight. But then we went to Nicaragua, and we sup surfed. So sup surfing is like I say I'm an advanced beginner. So I like little waves. And so that's really like all I want to do right now. Is we're going to Costa Rica to
great
Blue Zone sup.
Oh yeah.
In December, and just
great.
do an immersive sup surf school. So excited. That's really, like, for me, I just want to get really confident, so I can go out by myself more and, do some of my own surfing and not get in the lineup with any of the other surfers. I don't want to even mess with that. I just like to go off to the side and, at Assateague where we surf, with the dolphins and pelicans, it's just a lot of sandbars. So we can just spread out, but just having that confidence. So if you know of any good sup surf breaks for beginners, let me know.
By me right there.
Oh, yeah?
Doheny and San Onofre are, so you need to come visit me.
Okay.
But yeah, sup surfing of any kind is very addictive, so watch out.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah,
Galapagos
really fun stuff.
Sure.
Yeah.
Like Galapagos, everybody go to Galapagos. It's amazing. Yeah. It's life-changing.
Totally amazing. So anything else you're excited to explore? I mean, you do so many aspects of stand-up. Is there any type of stand-up you haven't done yet? Have you tried, well, you've surfed, fitness, racing. Have you tried whitewater?
I tried whitewater, yeah. I tried it at Great Falls, and I liked it, but it was very squirrely. So it was kind of a bigger, rapid day. So it was fun, but it was very, like, I was just kind of like, whoa, 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 kind of all over the place. So I don't know if there's more of like a cleaner kind of way of going down. I liked it. I want to try it again. And we kind of just like we kind of like went up this little area and then down, and we did loops. So it would be fun to do more of like a trip, like start at point A and end miles and miles down at point B, wherever that is.
Camping or something.
Yeah, definitely camping.
Well, you've got your big race coming up, so best of luck as race director.
You.
And I know you need to go off and teach your course. Was it a sup yoga or fitness, or what are you doing tonight?
We're doing, that's another really fun thing about this area is all these neighborhoods have their own community beaches. So I get called from neighborhoods. It's on the same river, but just on a different creek. And they say, hey, and the other thing is so many people have their own boards now, which is great. So I don't have to schlep tons of boards. And they say, hey, can you teach a class with us tonight? And so I've got 10 women, and I'm going to go over there with a couple rental boards, but the rest of them have their own, and we're going to float out and anchor down and do a yoga class.
Love it.
So it'll be really nice. Yeah.
Love
and I'm going to try
it.
and convince them to do Bay Bridge paddle next Sunday too.
I love it. Always thinking, always multiple stuff going on. Well, Carleen, it was fantastic to talk with you and get to know you. And we're going to stay in touch about continuing to grow this sport and this activity of stand-up paddling and share what a wonderful thing that it is. As you said, you've described it really well. There's just such a variety and so many ways to love stand-up paddleboarding. So thanks for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. It's great to talk to you.
And this does get recorded, everybody. So it immediately goes to Supconnect's IGTV, and then it ends up on YouTube, both on Supconnect and KT Outside. And if you're interested at all in kind of the national level and how it all works together, tomorrow evening, it's on KT Outside on Facebook. If you need the link, it will go live. But if you want to be on, you can either just listen in and ask questions. But if you want to be on the Zoom, that's what it's called, panel, kind of love to have you too. So just let me know if you have lots to say or want to ask questions. So either way, love to have you. Thanks again, Carleen.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you, Kristen. Bye.
Talk to you soon. Bye.